Overthinking is killing your peace. Stop it with Stoicism. Stoic Bloom. What if your biggest enemy isn't what's happening, but how you're thinking about it? What if every sleepless night, every anxious thought, every loop in your mind was just a signal that you're focusing on things outside your control? And what if ancient Stoic wisdom could teach you not to escape worry, but to make it irrelevant? Today, we'll explore how overthinking destroys your peace and how Stoicism offers not just relief, but transformation. Let's begin with the foundation of all freedom, controlling what you kiss and releasing what you can at part 1. Control what you can, let go of what you can. The first and most foundational Stoic principle is brutally simple. Focus only on what you can control. Most people live their lives on autopilot, thinking they're strategizing, when in fact they're just worrying. Worrying about outcomes, other people's reactions, or things that haven't even happened. But the Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca, understood that this kind of mental noise isn't planning, it's self-sabotage. Let's break it down with clarity. You can't control whether someone likes your presentation, but you can control how well you prepare. You can't control whether your partner texts you back, but you can control how you choose to respond emotionally. You can't control the storm, but you can control how firmly you anchor your ship. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." The Stoic doesn't ignore chaos. He simply doesn't serve it. When you learn to separate what's yours from what's not, you conserve your energy, regain your focus, and start to feel peace. Not because things are perfect, but because you've stopped trying to control the uncontrollable. Let me put it this way. If your mind is a fortress, then overthinking is leaving the gates open to every passing thought. But when you reclaim the gate keys, you decide what stays and what doesn't even get through the door. This isn't about being passive. It's about choosing your battlefield. And believe me, most of the battles you're fighting aren't yours. If this feels like a wake-up call, that's because it is. But don't worry, we're not handing out lectures, just clarity. If you're ready to take back control of your inner world, subscribe to Stoic Bloom. Like this video if you've ever lost sleep over something you couldn't fix. And share this with that one friend who can overthink a pizza order. Let's make mental peace louder than mental noise, one Stoic insight at a time. Part 2. Use negative visualization to disarm worry. One of the most paradoxical tools in the Stoic arsenal, yet one of the most liberating, is the practice of negative visualization. At first, it sounds counterproductive. Why would you imagine worst-case scenarios when you're already worried? Isn't that like throwing gasoline on anxiety? Not exactly. Negative visualization isn't about doom scrolling in your mind. It's about consciously facing what frightens you, so it no longer holds power over you. Seneca put it best, "He who suffers before it is necessary suffers more than is necessary." Let's say you're dreading an upcoming presentation. You keep obsessing. What if I mess up? What if they laugh? What if I freeze? Now pause. Let's take those fears and face them intentionally. What if you do mess up? You stutter, you lose your place. Maybe someone chuckles. Then what? You take a breath, you recover, you finish your talk. The world doesn't collapse. Your life doesn't end. And suddenly, the fear no longer feels invincible. That's the magic of negative visualization. It transforms vague anxiety into clear, manageable outcomes. The Stoics knew that fear grows in the shadows. But when you shine the light of awareness on what you're afraid of, it shrinks. You stop bracing for imaginary dragons and realize most of them are just shadows cast by your own thoughts. This practice also does something beautiful. It gives you double resilience. If the worst doesn't happen, you're grateful. If it does, you're ready. Negative visualization doesn't make you pessimistic. It makes you anti-fragile. And in a world that constantly tells you to just think positive, the Stoic dares to ask, but what if you're strong enough to prepare for reality instead? Part 3. Return to the present moment. Overthinking is a time traveler. It drags you into the past, rehashing things you can't undo, or it catapults you into the future, obsessing over things that haven't even happened. But here's what the Stoics taught, and what modern psychology has only recently confirmed. Peace is not found in the past or future. It only exists in the now. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." Sounds simple, but in practice, it's revolutionary. Let's take an example. You're nervous about a conversation tomorrow. Your mind keeps replaying worst-case scripts. But the truth is, tomorrow doesn't exist yet. All you're doing is paying interest on a debt you may never owe. Or maybe you're haunted by something you said last week. You play it over and over like a broken record. But the moment is gone. You're just reliving a ghost. The present moment, however, it's real. It's the only place you have power. The only place where action lives. And the Stoic knows that anchoring yourself to now isn't a retreat. It's the ultimate strength. So how do you get back to now? Start with your senses. What do you see, hear, feel right now? Breathe deeply, slowly. Bring your awareness back to your body, your space, your breath. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness that observes them. When you master the moment, you stop being dragged through time by your fears. You stand in it, solid, grounded, stoic. And ironically, the more you stop worrying about the future, the better your future becomes, because you're finally acting in the only time that matters. Overthinking, it's like trying to steer a ship from a time machine, pointless and exhausting. So if this message pulled you back to the present, don't overthink your next step. Subscribe to Stoic Bloom, because peace isn't something you chase, it's something you practice. Like this video if you've ever lost hours to thoughts that never paid rent in your reality. Share it with someone who needs a reminder that right now is already enough. Remember, clarity doesn't shout, it whispers, and it's whispering now. Part 4. Understand that everything is impermanent. What if the thing you're worrying about right now is already fading? One of the most grounding truths in Stoic philosophy is this: everything, good or bad, is temporary. It's not just a comfort, it's a weapon against anxiety. Seneca wrote, "No condition is so bitter that a stable mind cannot find some consolation in it." And Marcus Aurelius reminded us, the universe is change, life is opinion. You see, overthinking thrives on permanence. It tricks you into believing this problem will always be here. This feeling will never end. This mistake defines me. But pause. Look back at your life. How many moments once felt overwhelming until they weren't? How many problems seemed like the end until they passed quietly in your rearview mirror? The Stoics understood this truth deeply. Pain, confusion, uncertainty, these things don't last. Neither do victories, applause, or even identity. Everything moves. Everything morphs. So when anxiety begins to rise, remind yourself, this too is passing through. You are not a fixed point of suffering. You are the scoy. Thoughts and emotions are just weather systems, passing storms, not permanent climates. Let's ground this with an example. You're going through a breakup. Your mind says, I'll never get over this. But your experience says, you've gotten over before. You'll do it again. You're struggling with failure. Your mind says, this defines me. But Stoicism says, only your virtue defines you, and that's built moment by moment. The moment you internalize impermanence, not just as a concept, But as a lived truth, your overthinking begins to dissolve. Not because the challenges disappear, but because you no longer fear their duration. Part 5. Self-reflection, the power of journaling. In the chaos of modern life, your mind becomes crowded fast. 1,000 thoughts, doubts, regrets, projections, swirling with no direction. And you try to think your way out by thinking even more. But the Stoics had a better solution. Write it down. Get it out of your head. Journaling for the Stoic wasn't a teenage diary. It was a battlefield debrief, a mirror, a tool to cut through mental fog and reveal what truly matters. Marcus Aurelius wrote Meditations, his personal journal, not for others to read, but to organize his own soul. He wrote to remind himself what is within his control, what virtues he wants to strengthen, what distractions he must eliminate. And you can do the same. Here's how. At the end of your day, take 5 minutes. No phones, no filters, just you and paper. Ask yourself, what did I worry about today? Did it serve me? Was it true, useful, necessary, or just noise? You'll be shocked how much anxiety evaporates the moment it hits the page. Why? Because most of your overthinking is vague, undefined, floating. But when you write it down, it becomes visible, contained. You can look at it, not from inside it. That shift from participant to observer is the moment you go from being ruled by your thoughts to ruling them. Think of journaling as emotional weightlifting. The more you do it, the lighter your mental burdens feel. And over time, what once drowned you becomes background noise. So don't try to silence your thoughts. Sort them. Separate truth from fear. If your mind feels like a browser with 37 tabs open, grab a pen, not another worry. Subscribe to Stoic Bloom, where we don't just talk clarity, we write our way to it. Like this video if you've ever journaled your way out of madness. Share it with someone whose brain could use a reset, preferably without caffeine. Remember, the page listens better than any person ever could. Part 6. Embrace discomfort as a teacher. Most people fear discomfort. They avoid it, distract from it, complain about it. But the Stoics, they walk toward it because discomfort to them wasn't suffering, it was training. Epictetus once said, "Difficulties show what men are. Therefore, when trouble comes, think of yourself as a wrestler." Think about that image for a second. Not a victim, not a complainer, a wrestler facing life in the ring, grounded, inspired, tested. We're conditioned to believe that peace comes from avoiding pain. But the Stoics knew the opposite is true. Peace is built by becoming strong enough to remain calm inside pain. Every moment of discomfort, whether it's emotional, physical, relational, financial, is not your enemy. It's your invitation. An invitation to practice patience, build grit, stretch your tolerance, expand your mental toughness. Let's take a real example. Say you're going through rejection. It hurts. You feel exposed, vulnerable. Most people escape it with distractions, alcohol, endless scrolling, venting. But the Stoic pauses, feels it fully, asks, what am I being shown right now? What part of me needs strengthening? Maybe it's your attachment to approval. Maybe it's your fear of being misunderstood. Maybe it's the discomfort of losing control. Whatever it is, discomfort isn't the problem. Your resistance to discomfort is. Because the more you resist, the more you amplify the pain. But the more you welcome it, name it, sit with it, learn from it, the less it owns you. Discomfort becomes fuel. It makes your peace less fragile. It teaches you to show up, even when ease doesn't. This is why the Stoics sought voluntary hardship, cold showers, fasting, sleeping on the floor, not for punishment, but preparation. So that when real hardship came, they didn't flinch because they had already shaken hands with it. In modern terms, discomfort is your mental gym. And just like with muscles, growth only happens when you embrace resistance. Part 7, Final Reflection. Worry is not wisdom, anxiety is not foresight, and fear is just a rehearsed habit disguised as preparation. You have now seen what the Stoics knew for centuries. Overthinking isn't a flaw. It's a choice repeated often enough to feel automatic. But here's the deeper truth. If worry is a habit, peace can be too. And that habit begins with a decision. One you can make today. Don't let fear and anxiety keep robbing you of hours, relationships, and your health. Don't wait for the world to calm down so you can. You calm down and the world follows. Practice stillness, not someday, but now. Not when things are easy, but because they're not. Whether it's through reflection, journaling, breathing, or simply pausing to ask, is this thought helping or hurting me? You begin to lead your mind instead of being led by it. That's not a motivational quote. That's a Stoic commitment to mastery, to focus, to clarity, and ultimately to freedom. This isn't just another video, it's your permission to stop letting chaos be your compass. You don't need more motivation. You need more discipline of the mind. And that's what Stoic Bloom is built for. Subscribe if you're ready to stop reacting and start responding. Like this video if it reminded you of your own strength buried under noise. Share it with someone who overthinks themselves into exhaustion. Because sometimes the greatest gift isn't advice. It's a different way to see the same problem. Leave a comment below, not for us, but for you. What one thought will you choose to let go of today? Together, we don't fight the storm. We become the quiet center within it. You've heard the message. Now live it. One breath, one choice, one Stoic moment at a time. Stoic Bloom. Stillness isn't silence, it's strength in motion.